Can you talk about and share the success stories from members who've been here at the gym before?
Well, when people talk about success, as far as a lot of times you think about the athlete. You train the athlete, you might have trained them in high school, off and on in college, and boom, they go pro, things of that nature. But to me, my biggest success stories are the kid that never played a sport before or had an issue, a physical issue going in, and the parents bring them in and say, hey, my kid's lacking confidence. He's being picked on, he's being bullied, these types of things. And over time, you start to see this kid transform into something different. One of my Marine Corps brothers, he said, man, I admire how you're able to take people, normal people, and turn them into beasts. He said, like, you have a gift at doing that. You have a knack for doing that. So some of my biggest success stories is I had a kid, he came in, never played baseball before, a little bit overweight, wasn't real confident in himself. Came in, man, we worked for some months. And his mom was in tears. She called me, she said, my son made the All-Star team. And this kid was probably like 10 or 11 years old. First time making All-Stars. I mean, he was limping because he had knee issues coming in. And, we worked through. I was like, are you sure he's good? She's like, yeah, he's good. So eventually, working past that and getting, to that point, that's, to me, like, those are some of my biggest success stories. I've trained pro athletes, high-level athletes, high-level amateur athletes, but I expect them to do great things because you're at a level where, hey, look, there's nothing else except great expectations, and we have to follow up on these things. So the way that my mentality training one person is totally different when I'm training another person. Like, you have confidence. That's how you've made it to where you are, right? You had to believe that you can get there, and you made it there. So now I'm just polishing up those things, and we're going to continue to climb that mountain. Whereas you have this kid, he has no expectations. He doesn't know what that is yet, right? He's never really had to work for anything, and he's shied away from a lot of things that may be a problem, or it's complicated, or it might be, may not be his thing yet or her thing yet. So you find that and you develop that, and you turn this kid into something that they didn't even believe that was in him. So when the parents see him and they're like, wow, like, that's the biggest thing. When a parent calls me and says, thank you, that's my biggest success stories. When somebody else notices that this kid is different. What's so different about this kid? There's a guy, he drives in probably about 45 minutes away, 5 days a week. And his dad was bringing him. He's a 10th grader. And man, he was getting bullied. He was getting picked on. He's a real slender kid, he's not like everybody else. And the grandmother was like, why are you driving him way to Brookhaven? Why, there's other places that he can go. And the dad was like, you just don't understand. Like, this is where he needs to be. So finally, she had to bring him one time, and she called her dad and she says, he's right where he needs to be. That's a great place. Like, I've noticed him changing, and he's become a more confident person. He's not getting bullied anymore. He's not getting picked on, because he's able to stand up for himself, but he also walks different, right? He walks like he has confidence. He doesn't walk like the little scared cat anymore. So to me, those are my biggest success stories. It's not the special forces guy that I train and going doing what special forces guys do, or law enforcement, or this. Like, no, I expect you to do these things. It's the kids. So putting those things into kids, and as they develop, when my kids, who are now grown men, I'm giving away my age from when I first started training people, but I had one that came back. He was one of the first groups I've ever trained before. He's a high school football player. And he came back in years later. He walked in this building. He said, man, I just had to see it for myself. He said, you've been telling me way back when that it was going to happen, and I had to see it for myself. And he said, but I also came to tell you thank you. some of the things you instilled in me, I teach my kid. So that's successful. That's building a legacy. So that's what I wanted to do, you know, is build a legacy where it, even, you know, when Coach D's finally checked out and is no longer training anybody anymore, the principles and things that I taught people are still benefiting people. So to me, like that's the biggest success stories, is people like that. And there's a few of them, and, you know, I don't get in, I mean, it's so many that you forget, you know, like how many people you've actually touched, you know, that have gone on doing great things that may no longer live in the area. Haven't seen you, but if I walk into them in Walmart, they come up and they give me a big hug. And they, man, this Coach D, you know, and they could be with their wife, and the wife like, oh, I've heard about you. You know, and it's probably, it's good, but it's good, bad things, you know, like Coach D go hard, but that's successful, you know, to me. And that's why I can sleep good at night. Like I don't go home and, you know, worry about numbers and, you know, this, that, and the third. Is, hey, did I do my best to impact somebody in a positive way today? If I did that, then, you know, like I'm good to go.
I like that. That's how I like to put it when I do things. As long as I can inspire one person, I did my job. Yeah, that's how I like to